Today's video is brought to you by Manscaped.com.
Bye, Dad. Don't wait up.
Whoa, wait a minute, Lisa, come back here. You're not going out with all that makeup on.
But, Dad...
Upstairs.
Hello and welcome, my viewers of culture. My name is True Underdog, and today's video is likely to not be favored by YouTube's algorithm. So if you could please do me a favor, and if you enjoyed this video, leave a like down below and also share it with some friends on social media. Now, this video's topic was actually inspired by Shadiversity, which is a channel I highly recommend watching. All of his stuff is simply amazing. And while I do understand that I'm very late to comment on this topic, it's something I feel very passionately about. For today's video, we'll be looking at NetherRealm's conscious effort to change their characters' designs from game to game. It's clear this studio felt a need to change their characters' design, but I want to discuss that today and see if it was actually necessary or even favored among the community. And then on top of that, I'll also be discussing the practicality of these new costume designs as well, and see if they are in fact actually better for combat. Now, before we go any further, a quick word from today's sponsor. Today's video is brought to you by Manscaped.com, the global brand for men's grooming and hygiene products. You know what I love the absolute best about Manscaped? They offer the best tools and solutions for the three major odor zones: your body, your butt, and your balls. Manscaped just launched their new Lawnmower 4.0 waterproof electric trimmer, and now you can get the ultimate Manscaped experience when you purchase their new Performance Package 4.0 bundle. With the Performance Package, you never have to worry about complicated grooming regimens, because this all-in-one kit includes all the tools you need for perfect grooming, whether it's a morning shower or the late night ready for anything moment. Me personally, I start my grooming in the shower with the new Lawnmower 4.0. It's waterproof and cordless, which makes it perfect for grooming your groin. And this Lawnmower 4.0 is amazing. It has these replaceable ceramic blades with skin-safe technology and a built-in LED light to help you trim with confidence. It has a cool new wireless charging system and a new travel lock feature. So make sure to get yourself one and upgrade your trimmer game. And after you shower, make sure to apply the Manscaped Ball Deodorant, a quick absorbing, clear drying, moisturizing lotion for all-day protection. And then for that midday refresher, be sure to pack your Crop Reviver Ball Tone Spray that has cooling aloe vera and anti-inflammatory properties. Trust me, your balls will thank you. Manscaped is so much more than a ball trimming company. The new Performance Package 4.0 bundle now includes their new Weed Whacker nose and ear trimmer. This thing is a game changer. Don't sleep on cleaning up your nose hairs, and avoid painful alternatives like plucking or waxing. Pulling out nose hairs can hurt way more than nicking your balls. When you opt in for the full Performance Package 4.0 kit, you can enroll in their peak hygiene plan and get an ongoing replenishment of your favorite products delivered straight to your door, hassle-free. And then for a limited time, you get not one, but two free gifts: the Shed Travel Bag and the Manscaped Anti-Chafing Boxer Briefs. Go to manscaped.com for 20% off your order and free international shipping, plus those two free gifts. What are you waiting for? Make sure to join the Manscaped movement today. Your balls and your body will thank you. So without any further ado, let's jump head first into today's topic. During an interview, one of the NetherRealm designers did state they wanted these costumes to be less revealing and not to have any more bathing suit fighters. And one of the main reasons given was that those outfits would not be suitable for combat. And this same designer did speculate that this costume change may upset some fans, but he was completely alright with that. So already there's a lot to unpackage here, but let me go ahead and start off with the first part of the statement. Are the outfits in Mortal Kombat 11 actually better designed for combat? And furthermore, are the outfits from MK9 and X less suitable for combat? If I'm being completely honest with you, the outfit that makes the most sense for combat in Mortal Kombat 11 is one of Cassie Cage's DLC skins. And that's mainly because in a brawl, you don't want to give the opponent too much to grab onto. So for example, this bathrobe is actually a very bad idea. They can grab this and just move me wherever they want to. Or for another example, if I was to throw a punch, they could just grab my sleeve, and wherever they yank, my arm is now going to be moved. They could pull this arm out of the way and I can't defend with it. They could hit me square in the face. And as a result, if the opponent's going to be punching and kicking you and grappling you, you actually want to wear as little fabric as possible. However, with that being said, you don't want to have your loose bits all bouncing around. I'm certain there are some women watching, and you can let everyone know that it's not pleasant to have your members bouncing around. And believe it or not, this is also true for men as well. We have certain areas that swing around and bounce into things, and we don't want them to be doing that when we're moving at high speeds or throwing kicks or whatnot. We don't want them bouncing around and hitting things. So once again, Cassie Cage's outfit right here on screen is the best example I can think of an outfit you would want for combat. However, things do get a bit tricky and nuanced, because let's say the opponent's using weapons like knives or blades. In that case, you might want some armor. And we certainly do see some characters like Shao Shao Kahn or even the ladies wear some amount of armor. However, oddly enough, the armor is almost never covering their vital areas. Although there are some exceptions, like Revenant Liu Kang has this area covered, so that's a good idea if your opponent has blades or other sharp weapons. However, the issue is Mortal Kombat has never been clear about what is and is not tournament legal, and some characters straight up use guns. And as I'm sure a lot of you already know, a suit of armor doesn't do very much against bullets. If a medieval knight was to kick in my bedroom door and assault me in the middle of the night, it wouldn't matter if I had an SMG under the sheets. No amount of metal covering is going to defend you from an automatic weapon or even a basic handgun in today's day and age, and the handguns used in Mortal Kombat 11 are modern. And believe it or not, even bulletproof things like Kevlar aren't infinitely bulletproof. They may save you from a couple, but if they keep firing and unloading an entire clip into you, the bulletproof vest isn't going to do very much. And that's why I still think Cassie Cage right here has the most accurate outfit for combat. There's nothing to grab, she can move around freely, she's not hindered, which makes her a bit more nimble and more likely to dodge gunshots if the person's aim is bad, because you're not outrunning their bullet, you're outrunning their aim. And as mentioned earlier, all the bits that would bounce around and get in the way and possibly be harmed from rapid movements are also held firmly in place, so that's also a plus. So if every character on the roster, both male and female, looked like Cassie Cage does right here, then the statement made by the developer at NetherRealm would be true. However, the issue is characters do not all dress this way. A lot of them are wearing outfits that don't make very much sense for combat at all. In fact, the only real difference between Mortal Kombat 11's characters and Mortal Kombat 9's is the amount of skin they're showing. Neither one is really great for combat, and allow me to explain why. I wanted to pick one of my favorite characters in the entire series, Jade. As you can see, the Mortal Kombat 11 outfit does cover up a lot more skin, but does that make it better for combat? Well, not necessarily. For starters, Jade is wearing a hoodie, which is terrible in a fight. If you don't believe me, go ahead and try it. Your peripheral vision is very obstructed. You can't see very easily to your left or your right. That's not good if your opponent can teleport, which a lot of characters can, or if they just want to do a haymaker from the side, it's going to go into your blind spot and you won't be able to avoid it or block it properly. So at least in that one regard, the MK9 outfit is actually better for combat. And in fact, one more advantage this design has, which sounds a bit silly at first, is the distraction factor. If Jade was to walk into a room dressed like this, a lot of people might not think she's an assassin. They'll think she's a hired concubine or something of that nature. And as a result, she could get in close and just slit your throat and then leave before anyone knew what happened. However, if she walked in with a hoodie, you immediately know she's trying to hide her face and you're gonna be a bit skeptical of her. So believe it or not, this outfit on my left is actually a bit better if you want to be an assassin. You can sneak in and get close to the target much easier. However, in the actual tournament itself, this outfit does not provide very much protection. There's some loose bits flopping around. It's not the best, but at least it doesn't have a hoodie, which is a plus. And oddly enough, Mortal Kombat 11's design still has heels. Nearly every female character in Mortal Kombat 11 is wearing heels. Even robot characters like Frost are still wearing heels. And I do understand why, but it's baffling to me because it is certainly not to make them better at combat. I do understand that some individuals can be very nimble when wearing heels. They can do flips and whatnot and still land just fine. But trust me, it's much easier in a pair of regular shoes, sandals, or even being barefoot. If you're trying to convince me the characters in Mortal Kombat 11 are wearing outfits for combat, then you really should have done away with the heels because there is no actual advantage to wearing them. So right away, we've already caught a contradiction. This outfit is not strictly trying to be combat ready. It also kind of wants to have some empowerment or sex appeal. In other words, NetherRealm is trying to have its cake and eat it too, at least with this initial design that I have to my right. But real quick, a mini rant for myself personally. Having grown up with two older sisters, I have no idea why high heels are seen as empowering. Anyone watching this video who's worn heels knows about how painful they become on your feet after wearing them for an extended period of time, so I don't get why they're empowering. I understand why they're attractive and why you'd want to wear them on a date, but I don't understand why having a warrior wear heels is somehow more empowering to the character. You could never convince me that Katana or Jade would wear heels to a Mortal Kombat tournament or to assassinate their target. It's simply out of character. So once again, for MK9 it makes sense because that game's just trying to turn you on, but for MK11, where they claim to be more combat ready, heels make absolutely no sense whatsoever, so it's kind of boggling my mind. The only reason I can come up with they would have the characters wear heels is because, once again, society sees them as empowering for whatever reason, and I don't know why. And last but not least, as mentioned earlier, she has some loose fabric on her outfit as well, which once again the opponent could grab. In fact, I would argue she has way more fabric to grab than MK9's Jade, which is not a good thing. Or in summary, this outfit on my right, while it is less provocative and a bit easier to take seriously, is not actually better for combat in many ways. And one more thing I also wanted to talk about in terms of combat viability was the armor. Certain characters have armor on their outfits even if it doesn't make any sense. Characters like Katana, for example. You see, Katana is a character who uses fans to lift herself up, and she does this by manually pushing them at the ground to get lift, similar to a bird. And in a game like Mortal Kombat 9, this made a lot of sense with her outfit because she wasn't wearing much of anything, which made her as light as possible. However, in Mortal Kombat 11, she is wearing armor, and depending on the outfit, she's wearing a lot of armor, which is actually counterintuitive to lifting herself off the ground. I'm not saying she couldn't still do it, but it's going to require a lot more effort, and for anyone who's been in a fight, they're actually very exhausting, so you don't want to make anything tougher on yourself, especially not floating or levitating yourself. So oddly enough, giving certain characters more protection and armor, like Katana, is counterintuitive to how she would actually want to fight. So oddly enough, her story mode default makes the most sense in terms of having a good amount of protection from weapons and abrasions, but not very much armor so she can still float. She does have this weird sort of shoulder armor, and I think only on one side, but that's clearly just trying to be cosmetic. It's not something she would actually want to wear in a fight, so once again, a bit of a contradiction from the developers. So with all of that being said, it does beg the question, why would they design the costumes this way? Did they actually think it was better for combat to dress the women this way? I sadly don't think that's the case. I believe they were worried that having scantily clad women would garner some negative reception from the fans. Every studio wants to grow their audience, and I think NetherRealm worried that having so much skin on the female characters turned some players away, and I wanted to see if that theory was true or not. So I made two different polls. One was on my YouTube channel and the other one was on my Twitter account. And for this poll, there were two options. Option number one, you do not like sexy outfits in Mortal Kombat games. And then for option two, you either like them or you don't mind. And that extra criteria is very important, because if your fans don't mind something, then there's no reason not to include it, especially if some players do like it. For example, if I was writing a book or something and I found out that some fans liked this one character and other fans did not mind that character, then I'm going to include that character more in future books. Now, both of these polls had 24 hours before I was done collecting data, and here are the results. And my goodness, do they speak for themselves. A vast majority of players either like the sexy outfits or they don't mind them. So if anyone at NetherRealm happens to be watching this video, which is unlikely, but if you are, please, I want you to understand the importance of these polls, because both of these polls show that your player base does not mind the sexy outfits from Mortal Kombat 9 or even Mortal Kombat X. In fact, many of them, even on Twitter, are wanting them to come back in some way or form. So if anybody at NetherRealm is worried that sexy outfits alienate their player base, please know that it's the exact opposite. Fans either don't mind the outfits at all or they want them more than anything. I feel like there's an unfortunate disconnect between the creators of NetherRealm and their fan base. They seem to think that there's this huge secret group of fans that would play their games if not for the sexy outfits, but that's just not the case. And as a result, by excluding some of the more provocative and revealing outfits, not only did you fail to grow your fan base in that regard, but you also disappointed some fans. Neither one is a good outcome. However, let me extend an olive branch, because I don't own a studio, nor do I work for one currently. I understand that esports, for example, has certain rules, and maybe they don't want some really revealing outfits. And as a result, I completely understand if the default outfits for your characters, especially the female characters, are less revealing. That's completely fine. However, I sincerely recommend that you do include those sexier outfits as an option, because the numbers don't lie, and that's the reality of things. You disappointed a lot of fans by not including the sexy outfits, and there's no need to rebrand yourself. You're already the biggest fighting game, at least when it comes to America. But I think worldwide, Mortal Kombat 11 has sold more copies than any other modern fighting game. And oddly enough, even though Mortal Kombat is rated M for mature, I think the T-rated fighting games, especially ones made from Japanese developers, show way more skin, so don't worry about your reception in the community. When it comes to scantily clad outfits, it's pretty common in fighting games. It wouldn't be Mortal Kombat 11 standing out if the females and male characters were showing more skin. And in fact, I forgot to mention how the male characters are either showing the same skin as past games or actually more skin than they have in past titles, which is once again a bit of a contradiction, because the male characters would also like to be covered up and wear some armor if that's the idea. Though oddly enough, despite them showing more skin, the male characters do seem to have outfits that make more sense for combat. I don't see too many hoodies, and there's not too much loose hanging fabric. There's a lot of skin, which is like harder to grab. However, it is a bit of a contradiction, because the female characters seem to be the only ones that NetherRealm was concerned with covering up, which, as I mentioned throughout the video, didn't actually make them better for combat that necessarily. At the end of the day, fans either love outfits like this or they don't mind them, so make sure to always include them in future games. Because Mortal Kombat is a game for adults and it's meant to show all the splendors of adulthood, to enjoy all of that naughtiness, whether it's unadulterated violence or unadulterated appeal. It's honestly quite similar to action films nowadays. They don't just have violence and explosions, they tend to also have some sexy content in them as well, right? And as a result, it made perfect sense to me why Mortal Kombat 9 leaned into that really hard. Once again, it's a game for adults, it's action-packed in a variety of ways. Now, I'm sure after all of this, some people are still thinking, well, it's not a harm to cover up the ladies. There's no harm in doing that. And you might be right. However, there is an example where it actually was bad for the studio and may have actually tanked their entire series, and that's Dead or Alive 6. The studio behind this game made a very similar decision that NetherRealm did. They covered up a lot of their female characters and made them less scantily clad. And they likely did this for the same reasons that NetherRealm did. They either wanted to expand their fan base or be taken more seriously or have an easier time during esports. But believe it or not, that had a very negative effect. A lot of the existing fans for Dead or Alive were deeply hurt and a bit offended that the developers thought they had to change in this manner. Because when you do something as extreme as change the character's designs for nearly every character, what you're also doing is claiming the previous outfits were inferior or unnecessary or gross or something negative of that nature, and that can upset the fans who did like those outfits. Dead or Alive, just like Mortal Kombat, had some very sexualized characters, especially the female characters. In some ways, the game was like a dress simulator. A lot of the ladies were akin to Barbie dolls, and that made sense for their player base because they clearly wanted it. There's a lot of DLC costumes that came out, and they bought pretty much every single one. And as a result, when the fans heard the developers were going in a different direction and trying to remove all that sex appeal, they just kind of boycotted the game by not buying it. And the sad part is those costumes were actually in the game. The developers should have been more clear that it just wasn't the default outfits. If you want to have a very revealing outfit, you can still do that. But unfortunately, the damage had already been done, and Dead or Alive 6 was pretty much dead on arrival. It was hype during the beta, but after all those announcements and, oh, we're going in a different direction, all that, the game did suffer a lot in the player base. And I sincerely do not want to see that happen with the next NetherRealm game. If the game is rated M for adults or even T for teenagers, there's nothing wrong with having some revealing outfits. You just can't go for that hard R rating and show all the unnecessary bits. Once again, I've spent the last 15, 20 plus minutes explaining why having revealing outfits can actually be better for combat and also is more beloved by the fans as it is. So excluding them from future titles makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. I understand if you don't want them to be the default appearance for the characters, but keeping them out of the game because you want to appear more mature or you want to be taken more seriously just doesn't make very much sense at all. For one thing, you have to be a mature age to even enjoy stuff like that, so one would argue that a sexier outfit is actually more mature than a conservative one. And when it comes to being taken seriously, I wouldn't recommend that for Mortal Kombat. The whole fun of it is that you don't take it seriously. The characters are so strong, they can pull your head from your body with a single arm and just a single yank. That's ridiculous. And then on the flip side, they're also somehow remarkably durable. They can take like 15 bullets to the face, but for some reason you think they would need to wear armor or protect themselves. From what? These people can survive bullet shots. If anything, they'd all be naked and just covering up the parts that bounce around, and that's it. Once again, Cassie Cage's outfit makes the most sense in this regard. I'm gonna keep going back to it. That's the best outfit. But before ending this video, there is one more thing I wanted to cover, and that's the possibility of artistic censorship. If you look at some of the concept art for the characters, including the female characters, it seems like somebody made the decision to alter them ever so slightly to be a bit more covered up. And not just in the obvious areas like the boobas and the buttses and whatnot, even some other fetished areas like the feet. Believe it or not, Cetrion was completely barefoot in this concept art, and as you can see, it looks almost identical to how she appears in the game. And honestly, for a character like Cetrion, being barefoot makes perfect sense because she's clearly meant to be Mother Nature. I know the game says that she's virtue or something like that, but she's clearly meant to be Mother Nature. She like summons grass when she steps, she has animals flocking around her, and as a result, her being barefoot makes perfect sense. The point is, Cetrion's outfit was altered ever so slightly, and I can't help but worry it's because NetherRealm thought, oh, those disgusting foot fetish people, which I take offense to because I have some good friends who like feet. It's not for me personally. I'm actually a face guy, as lame as that sounds. I find the face the most attractive, but even so, I would have preferred Cetrion to be barefoot because it just makes more sense, but I worry they covered it up because, oh, those darn foot fetish people. But my main point is this: do not ever censor the artist. If they want the characters to show more skin, please allow them to do so, because once again, as mentioned before in this video for about the past 20 minutes, the revealing outfits do not bother fans one bit. Whether they're casual or veterans, they don't mind in a vast majority of cases. And then on top of that, covering the characters up doesn't necessarily make more sense for the game, and it doesn't need to because the game's already so over the top and silly. So let your freak flag fly. The players actually do prefer the sexy outfits most of the time, and if you don't believe me, as an experiment in the next game, just include a sexy option for every character, both the men and women, and then take note of which ones you see most often when you go online and play people. I'm willing to bet you right now that most of them are going to be wearing the revealing outfits. I will take that gamble. If you could shake my hand right now, we'd make that bet here and now. At any rate, everyone, that's about it for me. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. I bet it was a bit of a longer video than I meant for it to be, but I wanted to get all these thoughts out there. And now that I'm done, I want to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. And as mentioned earlier, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, because I get the feeling YouTube's going to try and restrict this video. So when you leave a like and share with everyone else, that helps me to escape that sort of shadow ban, and this video can reach as many people who want to see it. And of course, if you're not already subscribed, what are you doing? Suplex that subscribe button. That way you never miss any future videos. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.